Welcome to At Forest Edge, a podcast for the woman who asks the deeper questions, who finds God in the ancient stories, the forgotten myths, and the hard places of her own life. I'm Rihanna Tilley, a watercolor artist, a storyteller, and a woman who has stood at the edge of the dark wood and found that the light was there all along. Pull up a chair. Let's follow this thread together. I want to start today with a bumblebee. Not a metaphor yet, an actual bumblebee. The round, improbable, impossibly fuzzy kind that lands on a flower with all the grace of a small golden helicopter, and somehow makes it work anyway. The kind that buzzes past your ear on a summer afternoon and makes you stop whatever you are doing and just watch. There's something I find completely delightful about the bumblebee. According to the laws of aerodynamics, it should not be able to fly. Its body is too large. Its wings are too small. The math simply does not work out in its favor. Scientists have studied it. The numbers have been checked, and the conclusion, as far as the physics are concerned, is that the bumblebee is grounded. The bumblebee has not read that report. It flies anyway. It tumbles through the summer air perfectly content, visiting every flower it pleases, completely unbothered by the fact that it is doing something that, by all reasonable accounts, should be impossible. It simply does not know it cannot, and so it does. I tell my children, have faith like a bumblebee. Today, I want to talk about joy. Small joy. Holy, ordinary joy, the kind that lives in bumblebees and summer afternoons and the smell of something good on the stove, and the particular quality of light at 4 o'clock on an autumn day, the kind we rush past because we have decided that the serious things deserve our full attention, and the small, beautiful things can wait. But they cannot wait, and I don't think God intended them to. I want to tell you about a painting I made, and I need to warn you that it contains a pun, a deliberate, unrepentant, fully committed pun. I painted a bumblebee, round and golden and gloriously fuzzy, and around it I lettered the words, "Don't worry, be happy." Bee, B-E-E, like the insect, and I'm not ashamed. I made it because I believe joy should be allowed to be playful sometimes. Because I think we have a tendency, especially those of us who love depth and meaning and the theological weight of things, to make everything so serious that we accidentally squeeze the delight out of it. And delight, I would argue, is one of the most underrated spiritual disciplines there is. When I hear the phrase, "Don't worry, be happy," there's a song that plays in my head immediately. And when I was a child, I had a videotape, the Trolley Radio Show, which featured little trolls singing songs with stories woven between them. And that song was on it, "Don't worry, be happy." It was the most cheerful, uncomplicated, irresistibly singable song. And something about the simplicity of it, the sheer guileless happiness of it, has stayed with me for decades. Sometimes the truest things come in simplest packages. A bumblebee, a pun, a children's videotape, a wildflower growing through the crack in the pavement. God is not above using any of these. In fact, I think he rather delights in it. I want to talk about one of my favorite characters in all of literature, and I want to register my formal complaint that he was left out of the Lord of the Rings films before we go any further. If Gollum is getting his own movie, and apparently he is, then I believe the adventures of Tom Bombadil and Goldberry deserve equal consideration, and I will not be taking any questions. Back to my point. Tom Bombadil appears in The Fellowship of the Ring. And if you have only seen the films, you have never met him, which is a genuine loss I hope you will remedy. He is ancient. He is joyful. He wears a tall hat with a blue feather and yellow boots, and he sings almost everything he says. His wife, Goldberry, is the river daughter, and their home in the old forest is one of the most luminous places in all of Middle-earth. But here's the thing about Tom Bombadil that I find astonishing. When Frodo puts on the One Ring, the ring that makes everyone invisible, the ring that corrupts and controls and consumes, Tom Bombadil is immune to it. Not only can he see Frodo, but he is completely, cheerfully, entirely unaffected. He puts it on, and he remains perfectly visible. He tosses it in the air like a toy and hands it back without a second thought. And Tolkien's explanation, or at least what can be gathered from his letters, is not that Tom is more powerful than Sauron, or that he has some secret resistance to evil. It is something far more interesting than that. Tom Bombadil is so entirely himself, so completely rooted in the present joy of his own existence, so thoroughly at home in the created world and in his own nature, that the ring simply has nothing to offer him. It cannot promise him power he wants. It cannot threaten him with loss he fears. He is already full. He is already free. He is already home. The ring has power over those who are grasping for something they do not have. But a man who is content, genuinely, deeply rooted in the present moment, content is untouchable by it. Wonder does that. Delight does that. The holy, ordinary practice of noticing the bumblebee and the quality of the afternoon light and the particular joy of a good cup of something warm. These are not small things. They are the practice of being so present, so here, so rooted in the goodness of the created world and the God who made it, that the things which promise to fill the empty places simply find no empty places to fill. Tom Bombadil, I would argue, is one of the most spiritually whole characters in all of fiction, and he got there by singing in his kitchen and loving his wife and knowing every tree in the old forest by name. In Psalm 118:24, it says, "This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." This is one of those verses we have said so many times. It has almost become invisible. We put it on mugs and wall decals and morning devotionals, and somewhere along the way, the radical dailiness of it got smoothed over. But I want you to hear it freshly for a moment. This day. Not a better day, not a day when all things are resolved and circumstances are favorable and the grocery bill is manageable and the children are being reasonable. This one, this ordinary Tuesday, the unremarkable Wednesday, the Friday that feels exactly like last Friday. The Lord made this day. He designed it. He placed you in it on purpose, and the invitation, the command even, is to find the rejoicing that is available inside it, not to manufacture cheerfulness you do not feel, but to look with intention for the thing in this specific day that is worth noticing. The bumblebee, the good coffee, the child's laugh, the unexpected kindness of a stranger, the way the light came through the window at exactly the right angle for exactly a moment. This is the day. It is enough. There is something in it worth being glad about if you are willing to look with the eyes of someone who believes it was made. Philippians 4:4 says, "Rejoice in the Lord always." I will say it again, rejoice. Paul wrote this from prison. I think we should sit with that for a moment. He was not writing from a comfortable study or a pleasant afternoon in the garden. He was in chains. And he said, rejoice, always. And then, as if he knew we would need the repetition, as if he knew how easily we would dismiss it or explain it away, he said it again, rejoice. The Greek word here is kairo. And it is worth knowing that in the original language, it carries not just the meaning of happiness, but of a deep, settled, chosen orientation toward grace. It is active. It is a turning toward. Joy in the biblical sense is not a feeling that descends on you when circumstances cooperate. It is a practice, a discipline, a daily decision to turn your face toward the good and true and beautiful things, even when, especially when, the hard things are also present. Kairo, to rejoice, to be glad, to find grace in the present moment. An active and chosen orientation toward gratitude and delight. Not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of something stronger than it. A joy that does not depend on circumstances because it's rooted in something circumstances cannot touch. The bumblebee does not wait for the ideal flying conditions. It flies anyway. And Paul does not wait for prison to become comfortable before he rejoices. He rejoices anyway because the joy he is describing is not housed in his circumstances. It is housed somewhere that the chains cannot reach. Now, I want to give you the verse that I think is the most astonishing thing in all of Scripture on this topic. The one that reframes the entire conversation, because we have been talking about our joy, our practice of noticing, our choice to rejoice, our bumblebee faith. But Zephaniah 3:17 turns the whole thing around. The Lord your God is in your midst, a mighty one who will save. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quiet you by his love. He will exult over you with loud singing. He will exult over you with loud singing. The God who spoke galaxies into existence, the God who designed the mathematics of the bumblebee's wings, the God who wove the Fibonacci sequence into the sunflower and the nautilus and the spiral of the Milky Way. That God is singing over you loudly and with joy. You are not someone he tolerates. You are not a project he is managing. You are not a problem he is solving. You are someone he sings over, someone whose existence produces joy in the heart of the creator of the universe. When you stop to notice the bumblebee, when you let yourself feel the small, uncomplicated happiness of a summer afternoon or a child's laugh or a painting that makes you smile, you are not being frivolous. You are participating in something God himself is doing. He made the bee. He made the summer. He made you with the capacity for wonder and delight and the particular joy of a good pun, and he is singing about it. Wonder is not childish. It is worship. It is the natural response of a creature who recognizes the fingerprints of her creator on everything she touches and cannot help but be glad. I want to tell you a little more about this painting one more time because I love it unreservedly. I think it deserves a proper introduction. It's a bumblebee, round, glorious, and probably fuzzy, the little panda of the garden, because that is exactly what they are, and I will not hear otherwise. Hand-lettered, words curving around it. Don't worry, be happy. A painting that does not ask anything heavy of you, that simply invites you to smile and remember that joy is allowed to be simple and warm and a little bit silly sometimes. I wanted to create something that would make a person exhale. Something that would catch your eye on a hard Tuesday and remind you that the bumblebee is out there right now, defying aerodynamics, visiting flowers entirely unbothered. And you can be a little bit like that today, rooted enough in the goodness of small things that the weight of the impossible feels a little lighter. Put it somewhere you'll see it on hard days. Let it remind you to fly anyway. Wonder is not childish. I want to say that one more time because I think many of us, especially the deep thinkers, the serious feelers, the women who've been through enough that lightheartedness can feel almost like a betrayal of everything they have survived. Those women need permission to hear it. Wonder is not childish. It is worship. It is the bumblebee flying anyway. It is the Tom Bombadil singing in the old forest, so rooted in present joy that the darkness has nothing to offer him. It is Paul rejoicing in chains because the joy he carries is housed somewhere chains cannot reach. It is the God of the universe singing loudly over the life of one ordinary woman on one ordinary Tuesday because she is his. And that is simply what love does. Notice something beautiful today, not because everything is fine and the hard things are not real, but because this is the day the Lord has made. And there is something in it, something small and golden and improbable, buzzing past your ear on its way to the next flower. That is worth being glad about. Have faith like a bumblebee. Fly anyway, and let yourself hear, underneath the ordinary sounds of your ordinary day, the faint and wonderful sound of someone singing over you. Thank you for spending a lighter moment with me today at Forest Edge. We needed this one, a little honey between the harder episodes, a reminder that joy and depth are not opposites, and that God made bumblebees on purpose. And I think that tells us something important about him. If this episode made you smile, if it gave you a small, uncomplicated exhale in the middle of a heavy week, share it with someone who needs to be happy today. And I did that on purpose. I regret nothing. If you want to go deeper between episodes, my newsletter is a mini devotional and a window into whatever I am currently painting. Come find me there. Until next time, notice the bumblebee. Wonder is worship and God is singing. Thanks for sitting with me a while at the edge of the forest. If today's episode stirred something in you, come find me at forestsedge.com. That's where you'll find my art, my book, The Happy Little Sunflower, Finding Hope in the Valley, my newsletter, and a way to reach me directly. I'd love to hear what's on your heart. Until next time, may you keep walking toward the light even when the path is dark.